You don't belong here. At least, that's what the voice in your head keeps saying. Every time you walk in the lab, every time you study for your exams, and every time someone asks you a question and you're not 100% sure of the right answer. Welcome back to MAP, Medical Pathways for Success. I'm your host, Fred Nazario Alvarado, and I've got a question for you. Have you ever walked into a room or stepped into a new role and felt like everyone else has it figured out except you? If that sounds familiar, this episode is going to make a lot of things click. Today we're talking about something that so many students and new healthcare professionals wrestle with, even if they never say it out loud. We're diving into imposter syndrome. You know that feeling? The one that creeps in when you're trying something new or stepping into a role you've worked hard to reach. It's that voice that whispers, "Do I really belong here? Everyone seems smarter than me. What if I mess up?" If any of those thoughts have crossed your mind, I want you to know right now, you're not the only one. Not even close. Imposter syndrome shows up for people who care, people who are growing, people who are stepping into roles that matter. And if that's you, then this episode is going to help you understand what's really happening inside your mind. And more importantly, how to move through it with confidence. So take a breath, settle in, and let's walk through this together. Before we can overcome imposter syndrome, we have to understand what it really is. Because for a lot of people, it feels like a personal failure, like a flaw or a weakness, when in reality, it's something that happens to almost everyone who steps into a meaningful role. Imposter syndrome is that quiet inner critic that tells you you're not good enough, even when you are. It's that thought that says, everyone else gets it except me, even though the person sitting next to you probably feels the exact same way. It's that pressure that builds when you expect yourself to perform like someone with years of experience, even though you're still learning. To show you that you're not alone in this, let me be completely open with you for a moment. Even now, hosting this podcast, sharing guidance, speaking confidently into the mic, I still face imposter syndrome myself. Every time I start recording, my voice may sound steady, my tone may be strong, but that quiet voice still creeps in sometimes. It whispers things like, "Who's going to listen to you? Why should anyone care about what you have to say? What makes your message worth putting out into the world? Are you sure you're the right person for this?" Those are big questions, and they're honest. And I know many of you have asked yourself the same thing. They make you pause and look at yourself a little differently. So if you've ever asked yourself those same questions, hear me clearly. You're not the only one. Here's what I remind myself every single time those doubts get loud. If even one person hears my words, if even one listener feels seen, encouraged, or motivated to take that next step they've been afraid to take, if one future healthcare professional keeps going because this podcast helped them feel less alone, then I'm doing exactly what MAP was created to do. MAP isn't about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's about showing up. It's about guiding, motivating, and supporting the people who are walking the same road. The students who are trying, learning, stumbling, and rising again. And that's why I keep going. That's why I hit record even on the days when doubt is loud. Because the mission is bigger than the fear. The calling is stronger than the questioning. And the impact, even if it reaches just one person, is absolutely worth it. You and I, we're not imposters. We're growing. We're learning. We're stepping into who we're meant to become, one brave moment at a time. Now that we explored how imposter syndrome speaks to your mind, let's talk about something just as important, how it shows up in your body. This is something people don't bring up enough, the physical side of imposter syndrome. Because imposter syndrome isn't just a thought in your mind. It's something you can also feel in your body. Maybe it shows up for you as a tight chest when you walk into class. Maybe your stomach knots up before a skill check-off. Maybe your hands get sweaty when the instructor says, "Who wants to try first?" Or maybe your heart starts pounding every time you sit down to study because you're afraid you won't understand what's in front of you. Those reactions don't make you weak. They don't mean you're not capable. They don't mean you don't belong. They mean your brain is trying to protect you. When something feels new or unfamiliar or important, your brain goes into alert mode, and it sends your body signals to slow down, step back, or stay in the safe zone. And that's where imposter syndrome loves to grow. So the next time those feelings hit you, the racing thoughts, the shaky hands, the nervous energy, take a slow breath and remind yourself, this is just my body reacting to something new. This is not a sign that I don't belong here. It's just a sign that I care and I'm growing. When you separate the physical reaction from the truth of who you are, you regain your power. You start showing up with clarity instead of fear. And that's when the real growth begins. At its core, imposter syndrome isn't about ability. It's about fear. Fear of failing. Fear of being judged. Fear of being seen trying and not getting it perfect the first time. Listen closely because this matters. Those feelings do not mean you're unqualified. They mean you're human. They mean you're growing. They mean you're stepping into something important. In fact, the people who never feel imposter syndrome are usually the ones who aren't pushing themselves. They're staying where it's comfortable. They're not challenging themselves or stepping into the next level. You're feeling this because you're becoming something more. And that's a sign you're exactly where you're supposed to be. With that in mind, the next time you catch yourself thinking your success came from luck or the universe, pause and remember this. It wasn't any of those things. It was your persistence. It was your passion. It was you. Now let's bring this into the world of healthcare, because this field, more than many others, has a way of stirring up those doubts. Imposter syndrome can show up the very first week of class. You're handed a textbook full of medical terminology, and it feels like learning a new language. Everyone around you seems to catch on quicker, and you're sitting there sounding out words you've never even seen before. The doubt creeps in. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. It shows up in the lab. Your hands are shaking the first time you take vitals, or when you try a new skill like injections or phlebotomy. You compare your beginning to someone else's middle, not realizing they probably practiced for hours at home or ask questions privately to build their confidence. It shows up when you're preparing for your certification exam. Suddenly, everything you studied feels like it's slipping through your fingers. You start thinking, what if I forget everything on test day? What if I fail? Even though you passed your quizzes, aced assignments, and put in the work, that fear still finds a way to talk. And then, there's the first day in the field. Walking into a clinic or hospital for the first time is overwhelming. New faces, new routines, new expectations. You look around the room and it feels like everyone already knows exactly what to do. And you're just hoping no one notices how nervous you are. That's imposter syndrome. It hits hardest right before a breakthrough. And that brings us to something a lot of people don't realize. Imposter syndrome doesn't only appear when you're struggling. It appears when you're transforming. Anytime you step into a new version of yourself, your identity takes a moment to catch up. Think about it. You entered a medical program, or you started studying for your exam, or you walked into your clinical site for the first time, and suddenly you're being asked to see yourself as a future healthcare professional. That's a big shift. And your brain is still used to the old version of you, the one who didn't know medical terminology yet, or hadn't practiced vital signs, or hadn't stepped foot in a clinic. So when you take that leap into something bigger, your mind might whisper, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you belong here? Are you sure this is for you? Not because you're an imposter, but because your identity hasn't fully aligned with your new path yet. Imposter syndrome isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're evolving. The discomfort you feel right now, that's growth. That's expansion. That's you stepping into a stronger, more capable version of yourself. So instead of thinking, I don't belong, try shifting it to, I'm becoming who I'm meant to be. Because that's exactly what's happening here. You're not behind, you're transforming. You're not pretending, you're progressing. And your identity will catch up as long as you keep showing up. Now that we understand how imposter syndrome feels in our bodies, we can start to understand why it shows up in the first place. So let's talk about why imposter syndrome shows up, especially in healthcare. Healthcare is high stakes. People's well-being is involved, and when you care, truly care, about helping others, you naturally want to show up as your best self. The pressure to get things right, to make a difference, to be reliable, it can weigh heavily. And when something feels big, your mind tries to protect you by pointing out everything that could go wrong. It's trying to keep you safe, not realizing that the discomfort you're feeling is actually part of the growth you need. Your brain is not trying to stop your growth. It's trying to protect the person you used to be. Imposter syndrome happens when you're transitioning into a new identity, you're in an environment that challenges you, you're learning skills that you've never done before, you're surrounded by people who seem confident, and you're stepping out of your comfort zone. Every time you grow into a new role, there's a moment when your mind still sees you as who you used to be, not as the person you're becoming. That gap between the two is where imposter syndrome lives. And that gap closes with experience, repetition, and confidence. The more you practice, the more your identity shifts. The more challenges you face, the stronger you become. And eventually, the version of you who once doubted everything becomes the version of you others look up to. Imposter syndrome isn't a sign you don't belong. It's a sign you're stepping into the next level of who you are. Now that we've talked about what imposter syndrome feels like, let's shift into the part that puts you back in control, the practical strategies. Let's break down a few strategies you can use the moment those feelings show up. Real, practical actions you can take even when confidence feels far away. And let me say this, you don't overcome imposter syndrome by trying to feel confident. You overcome it by taking actions even when you don't feel ready. Strategy 1, reframing the way you think about learning. You're not supposed to know everything right away. You're supposed to learn. Growth comes from practice, feedback, mistakes, and trying again. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, shift it to, I'm learning to do this. That small shift removes judgment and opens the door to growth. Strategy 2, focus on progress, not perfection. Healthcare is a field built on improvement. You don't go from shaking hands to confident techniques overnight. Celebrate the small wins, understanding a concept you struggled with, collecting vitals smoothly, or asking a question that helped things click. Those small wins stack up fast. Strategy 3, stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You don't see how much time someone spent practicing at home. You don't see how long they studied after class. You don't see their fears, doubts, or past mistakes. You only see the version they show in public. Focus on your lane. You're building a skill set that will grow stronger every single day. Strategy 4, asking questions often. Asking for help isn't a weakness. It's professionalism. You're showing others that you value accuracy, safety, and growth. And in healthcare, those qualities matter more than anything else. Strategy 5, anchor yourself in your why. You're going to hear me say it once. You're going to hear me say it again. Your why is powerful. It's the thing that pulls you forward when fear tries to hold you back. Maybe your why is your family. Maybe it's passion. Maybe it's the desire to help others in a way you didn't experience yourself. Only you know your why, and it's what's going to motivate you. So whatever it is, write it down, let it ground you, and let it be your anchor when uncertainty shows up. Let me take a moment to speak directly to you. You belong here. You belong in the classroom. You belong in the lab. You belong in this field. Fully, completely, and without apology. You are not an imposter. You're a healthcare professional. Not someday, not once you're perfect, but right now. Whether you're studying, training, or already caring for patients, you show up, you grow, and you make a difference simply by choosing to be here. Every professional you admire has felt exactly what you're feeling right now. The difference is, they didn't stop, and neither will you. Now that you understand what this feeling is and why it shows up, let's talk about what you can do when it gets loud. And that brings us to one of my favorite parts of every episode, your map moment.
It's time for your map moment. A quick little push to keep you going. Stay focused, keep strong. Your pathway to success is
Today, I want to give you something practical you can use anytime imposter syndrome tries to talk you out of your greatness. Something simple but powerful, and something you can start today. I call it your evidence file. Because here's the thing. Imposter syndrome lives in emotion. It lives in fear. It lives in what if. But confidence? Confidence grows from evidence. From real, clear, undeniable proof that you are capable and you are growing. So here's your challenge. This week, start an evidence file, either on paper, in your notes app, or wherever you keep your personal reminders. And every time something goes right, no matter how small, write it down. If you understood something in class that confused you before, put it in the file. If you practiced a skill and it felt smoother than last time, put it in the file. If an instructor complimented your progress, put it in the file. If a classmate asked you for help, put it in the file. These moments may seem small, but when you stack them together, they become a powerful reminder that you are not an imposter. You are improving. And on the days when doubt gets loud, when you start to question if you belong, if you're good enough, or if you really are cut out for this, I want you to open that evidence file and read it back to yourself. Let your own growth silence the doubt. Let your own progress remind you who you really are. Let your own wins, big and small, become your proof that you're not faking anything. You're becoming the professional you're meant to be, because your map, your medical pathway for success, isn't built on perfection. It's built on progress. And remember, your evidence file isn't just a list. It's your proof. It's your reminder. It's your story of growth in real time. Before we wrap up today, I want you to remember something. Imposter syndrome might try to whisper that you don't belong, but your effort, your growth, and your persistence tells a completely different story. You've already taken steps that many people are too afraid to take. You've shown up, you've invested in yourself, and you're pushing toward a future that matters. You are not here by accident. You are here because you've earned your place on this path, and you're building yourself into the kind of professional who makes a difference. So when that voice of doubt tries to creep back in, remind yourself of this moment. Remind yourself that you listened to this episode because you care about your future, your purpose, and that impact you want to make. And people who care don't fail, they grow. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show and share it with anyone chasing their healthcare dreams. Got an idea or topic you'd like me to talk about? Send me an email at mattpodcast@outlook.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, or your questions for future episodes. Your ideas and experiences could inspire someone else on their path. Stay tuned for more real stories, inspirations, and guidance to help you learn, grow, and keep moving forward on your journey. Remember, imposter syndrome doesn't define you. Your effort, your heart, and your growth do. And as always, keep learning, keep growing, and keep following your map, your medical pathway for success. You're not pretending, you're progressing.